Hello everyone, this is JB back at you again with another video discussing The Dragon Prince, Season 2, Episode 7, Fire and Fury. So we start off with the Calum crew, or at least that's what I'm calling him now, but it's Calum actually by himself, and he's sitting, still trying to figure out how to connect the magic, and he's interacting with Bait. Rayla appears, and he asks Rayla to try to explain it. She tries to explain by she does these motions and noises and tinks and whatnot, but it still doesn't quite make sense to Calum, and for Rayla, it's hard for her to explain. And then there's the Lord of the Rings reference, as one does not simply walk into Zadia. So a nice reference there. They even had him doing the pose, which I thought was funny. So good for them. And then with Claudia and Soren, the chain guy, I still don't remember his name. He tries to escape, it doesn't work. They're gonna throw him in a jail in this random town. But then that town sees a dragon, and the dragon sort of trying to intimidate them. And Soren is like, "Well, we're gonna attack it." So he provokes it, he attacks it, and then the dragon starts attacking back. Rayla and Colin, who is far off but close enough that they can hear the commotion, and Rayla's like, "Oh, that's not a good sound." So they go to investigate. Meanwhile, the people in the town is trying to take down this dragon. Well, it's really just Soren, and is failing miserably. It's dismissing him with the ballista attacks, and then Claudia does this dark magic on one of the ballistas so that it will strike the dragon. It does strike the dragon. The dragon flies away, but then kind of falls down because he got hit right near the column crew. Then Ezran, he goes to the dragon and is just trying to make it feel better. I guess he probably maybe is communicating with the dragon, saying that he's friendly, he wants to help him. And they do eventually help the dragon a little bit. They take the arrow out of from underneath one of her wings. Meanwhile, Viren does get confronted by someone in the council. I don't know if she's been named yet, but we've seen that character before. And we do find out that he did in fact lie about being the regent of Catalyst, which is something we probably figured, but it's confirmed. And he goes back down to his little mirror dungeon place, and we see Grin, and he's still positive as usual. So good old Grin is still alive. We come back to the column crew, and Rayla, they had to leave because the Claudia crew had arrived, and they were and so they had to leave. But Rayla's like, "I need to go back. I need to protect the dragon." And her and Colin are having this conversation of well, why do you we need to stick to the mission? She's like, "No, I need to protect this dragon." So she goes off to protect the dragon, and during this time, the Claudia crew is they're getting ready to dissect this thing. Claudia is like, "Oh, we can do so many, spells with this parts of this dragon." But Rayla rolls up, and she starts holding them off. She's trying to release the dragon. She's fighting Soren. She's fighting all these other people. And meanwhile, Calum is upset, and he's drawing, and he reveals that he draws when he's upset, or when there is something bothering him. And I will talk about this later. I'm going to point out it looked like the person he was drawing was Rayla when he was upset. But then, the book falls and goes to a random page, and it gave him an idea. So next thing you know, he goes on to the scene of the dragon, Rayla is like barely holding them off. I mean, it is like, what was that, 5 against 1, 6 against 1. She's holding her own, but it's I think it's coupled with trying to release the dragon is not helping her. Um, so Caleb shows up, and he has the book in one hand, he has the insect in another, and immediately Rayla and Claudia sees what he's about to do. They're like, oh no, he's about to do dark magic. And Claudio's like, oh, like, don't do this, Colin. Like, if you don't know how this works, it can have a bad effect on you. He does it anyway. He does his dark magic, and he claims that like he had seen this particular spell from Claudia before, so that's how he knew it. And so then the chains on the dragon turns into snakes, runs a couple of the people away, and Colin falls down like pretty much KO'd. Like that took a lot from him. The dragon then wakes up, or gets up from unconsciousness, and starts going in, complete like this through Soren around. Soren looks like he's paralyzed, and the dragon's going into until she, because I think they revealed it was a she, until she sees Zim, the dragon prince. Once she sees him, and she sees him being held by Ezrin, she immediately gets up and flies away. So I think it was more of like, oh no, he's alive. I need to go tell someone. That's what I got from that. And then the last bit of it was Viren. He does go back to the mirror. He does do the blood sacrifice because he says, what else do I have to lose? And then the star elf like has a bug come out of its mouth, puts it in the cup. The bug goes into Viren's side of the mirror. He picks up the bug, and the bug like crawls up to his ear, and it looks like an earpiece, like a hearing aid, that type of thing. But it curls on the top of his ear, and then all of a sudden you hear his deep voice is like, "Speak," and that was, and then the star elf says, "How may I serve you?" in his deep voice, which I actually think is the same voice as Ko. The voice actor for Cole in Avatar. I think it sounded like it's the same voice, but I have to confirm that. So that is what happened. Here are my thoughts on this episode. The bit that Rayla is saying when she feels like she has to go back, and defend the dragon. She's like, I can't just sit here. I have to do something, especially if someone is hurt and needs me. Like I can't sit idly by and let this happen. And, I had to take a stand, when no one else will. And, again, I think this is a great message. I think some people might see it as like, oh, here we go with the politics again. But it's like, I don't think it's political. I just think it's, she feels compelled to help this dragon, whether, that's because of like elves' connection to dragons, or even her parents were, sworn to protect the dragon king. And so it could be a lot of that in there too, but it's like, her thing of, yeah, if I see something going on, I can't just like act like it didn't happen. And I think that's something that can apply to us too. I like that message of just not being okay with seeing something happen and not doing anything about it. The next point that I want to bring up is Colin is drawing Rayla when he is upset. And again, I am not going to ship quite yet. Not quite yet, but I do want to point this out. That is something, whenever the only other time I think he was drawing a person, it was his mother. And so it's interesting that he was drawing Rayla. It's like, why would he draw Rayla? That was very interesting. I think will be perhaps a part of a bigger discussion moving forward. But I just wanted to point that out, and I did pause it at that point to make sure, and it did look like Rayla. Um, and then let's talk about Callum using dark magic. And here is where this becomes a gray area. Because, the show, at least the characters in the show, kind of, or non humans, speak really negatively of dark magic. It's like dark magic is this bad thing. You have to kill something, a creature that has magic or has the arcanum magic in them in order to perform it. It cuts corners. It's too easy, and like that's definitely true. We see that, but here is an example where it's like Colum he couldn't do anything else. There was nothing else that he could do, and he even flips out at Rayla when she is saying, giving her a spiel and like, I got to do something, and he's like, what am I supposed to do? I can't do anything. I can't do. Magic was taken away from me. What is it that I'm supposed to do? And I think he at that point, was like, I have to do something. And whether or not it was to save the dragon, I think it was more to protect Rayla because that's who he was drawing. That was his immediate thoughts before he saw the idea, like, oh yeah, I can do dark magic. But he comes in and, he says to Claudia, like, I want to do your type of magic. And then he does it, and then ultimately it works. The dragon is freed, and now the dragon can go back to Zadia and share the news that the Dragon Prince is indeed alive, and that there is a couple of humans and the elf bringing him back. And so this is an example where dark magic worked. It was like, what else was Caleb supposed to do? And he did achieve the goal. And so there is definitely a morality question here of, well, if he didn't do the dark magic, both the dragon and Rayla, there's a good chance they might have been killed. But because he chose to do the dark magic, Rayla and the dragon were spared. And so it's this idea, sort of the other side of the commentary to Infinity War, where their discussion was like, oh, we don't trade lives. No one's life is being traded for another. And so I feel like Cap's opinion of that was like, no, I'm not about to do dark magic just to save another life. But then this is the reason why Thanos won, because Thanos had the idea of, well, by trading, half of the universe's population, more people are actually going to be saved. And because he was willing to trade lives, like, he succeeded his goal. And the same applies here for Callum, where, he, whatever looked like some type of bug thing that he squished, and it saved the dragon and Rayla's life. And the dragon, and especially Rayla, because that's who he was drawing, is clearly, even if you're not shipping and saying that they're going to be together, like, the only other person he drew was his mother. So, like, clearly, even from a platonic standpoint, like, Rayla is important to Callum. Like, she is somebody that he cares about. And so, I'm sure in Caleb's mind, his rationale was, well, Rayla is more important than this bug. The dragon, which the person who I cares about, is also more important than this bug. So I'm gonna make this trade. I'm gonna be willing to make this sacrifice. And there's definitely an interesting commentary there, where he uses his dark magic, but it was successful. He achieved his goal. And so that's the thing I like about the show. It's really gray. It's not just like, oh, dark magic is bad. If you do dark magic, you are the devil. But it's just like, there's a price to be paid with dark magic, but perhaps the person wielding the dark magic does have good intentions. And I think this is an example here, or at least for Caleb, I do think it was a pure reasoning for him using the dark magic, and I think that's valid. And then my last point is Viren finally succumbs to the mirror person. Uh, he figures I have nothing else to lose. The kingdoms won't listen to me. Let me do this. And this is interesting because we still don't quite know like what his motive is there. Like I still think that this is part of like his end game. Like there's another goal he's trying to achieve, which is why he's dealing with this mirror in the first place. Other than just, oh well, the dragons cut this close to where they slept, so obviously it's important. And it's like, well, obviously, like clearly you think that it may be something, like unless you wouldn't be tampering with it. And the fact that he's like, well, I have nothing else to lose, let me go back to my original plan, like that's kind of the feeling you get. Like he realizes the risk that he's taken. He realizes that this is probably a more dark avenue, but it's like he tried to go the light avenue. He tried to convince the council, they said no. Convince the kingdom, the pentarchy, they said no. So it's like, oh well, see, this is why I go to my dark ways, And this even sort of goes into the idea of doing dark magic. It's like, well, what else was he supposed to do? So I'm sure he feels that way. The issue is we don't quite know what he's thinking yet. But he does the ritual. The blood sacrifice, and then through that, now this star elf, who we now learn is a guy, the star elf can communicate, and they've made a connection. And the star elf, asks, how may I serve you? So there's about to be a connection made between the star elf and Viren. And I'm interested to see where this goes. Not only the last two episodes, but into season 3 as well. Like what is Viren's end game here? Like where is he going with this? Why is he messing with this mirror in the first place? So that's all the thoughts I have for this video. Please put your thoughts in the comments section. What did you think about Rayla's bit? About like not standing by when you see someone is being hurt and harmed. Do you think that was overly political, or do you think there's some merit to that? What do you think about Caleb drawing Rayla? Why do you think that? Are you starting to ship those two? Do you think he has feelings for her? Or do you think it's just someone he cares about and he was concerned? What do you think about Caleb using dark magic? And do you think it was justified? Was there another way? And then finally, what do you think about Viren and this mirror guy or the star elf? Like, what is the end goal here? What are your thoughts on that? So I look forward to seeing your comments, and I will see you again when we discuss the final 2 episodes. Alrighty, I'll see you on the other side.